Tonight on America's Hope, Jewish students around the country are concerned about the colleges they attend. Will they find acceptance or will they find more criticism and more threats of violence? We'll discuss it all tonight with campus reform. America's Hope starts now. From the NTD Global Headquarters in New York, I'm Kelly Wright, and this is America's Hope. We're glad that you could join us this hour, and we hope that wherever you are, that you're safe and well, taking care of yourself and your family because you matter. Well, it's the summer. Many people are taking breaks, and certainly on college campuses, many people are breathing a sigh of relief that there are no longer encampments and protests against Jewish students and against Israel, and for that matter, against America. Remember those chants, death to Israel, death to America? Remember the fact that some Jewish students were actually unable to attend the college of their choice, that they had to be pushed out and pushed away by people who are students, who came against them because they were Jews. Something's amiss. Yeah, everyone has a right to free speech, but to actually promote hate of a person because they're Jewish, that is not free speech. That is hate. And college presidents were woefully inadequate in their response to the threat against Jewish students. And so we're discussing that tonight right here on America's Hope. Let's get started. Our first guest is Zachary Marshall. Dr. Zachary Marshall, who received his PhD from George Mason University and is an adjunct assistant professor at the University of Kentucky. And of course, he works with campus reform as well, which of course is a conservative group that actually looks at what's happening on our college campuses and how our colleges are impacting our students. And most notably, since what took place on October 7th, 2023, was a devastating terrorist attack inflicted upon innocent Israeli citizens living in Israel by the terrorist group Hamas. Since then, we've seen the protests where some colleges have allowed the protesters to denounce America, saying death to America, and to even denounce Israel, saying death to Israel. Well, what about the Jewish students who attend those colleges? Talk to me about what campus reform has uncovered in its investigations and reports on college campuses throughout America.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. I got a chance to sit down with students at Northwestern University last month to talk about what they experienced at their encampment there. They told me about the physical intimidation they experienced, not being able to traverse Deering Meadow to go to class, but it's worse than just intimidation and harassment. There are students who at Northwestern University had their peers in the tent encampments tell them that they should go back to Poland, that Hitler was right to gas their ancestors and that they should be gassed themselves. So this is going beyond anti-Israel rhetoric. This is not only just anti-Semitism, it is outright Jew hatred, and it is wishful talking out loud of their dream for Jews to be either raped or murdered. And that is what students are facing across the country.
And we told our concerns to the university, like, listen, they're calling for an all hands on deck. They're calling for a campus-wide shutdown. This is serious. And the fact that wasn't implemented harder, policies weren't told. We weren't told what was happening beforehand and what security measures would look like is a huge failure. Second of all, the statement that went out by the chancellor, another huge failure. The initial statement that she said, it did not mention anti-Semitism. It did not mention the word anti-Semitism. And what happened, what else can we call it? It was blatant Jewish hatred. It was blatant anti-Semitism. We had 3 physical assaults, no arrests, and a message from the chancellor that didn't even mention the word anti-Semitism.
Yeah, and Zachary, it's also indicative of the ignorance that's out there about understanding the Jewish faith. It did not originate in Poland. And let's make that abundantly clear, and that people living in Israel are not all from Poland. The history of Judaism goes all the way back to the beginning of the Bible.
Yeah, absolutely. And they've been wrong on so many occasions and more than once. They are wrong about the history of Israel. They think that Israel is a Western imperial creation. It is not. It is a kingdom that existed in the Bronze Age when Palestine was created by the European colonizer, the ancient Rome, to erase any Jewish presence there in Israel, and it was carried over by the Ottomans and the British. But you will never learn that in classes, and you will never learn from the protesters in the encampments or from their faculty allies that there are Jews in Ethiopia, in India, in China, and there were Jews in Yemen, Iran, and Iraq, and Afghanistan before they were driven out of their homelands, and they're now in Israel because the choice was either to move from the Middle East or to be killed. And this is just part of a conspiracy, and we have to be honest about that. This is a conspiracy between the student organizations like Jewish Voices for Peace, like Students for Justice in Palestine, their faculty advisors, their faculty allies, and the national groups like National Students for Justice in Palestine, all conspiring to make Americans who are not that informed, quite honestly, about Jewish history, to make them think that all Jews are white, middle class, European Americans, when the opposite is true. I do not look like the typical Jew in the world. I am not representative of what a Jew looks like. If an American were to be planted into Israel and just look at Palestinians and Israelis lined up, they would not be able to tell the difference.
Well, you're absolutely right, and there are people of different hues and colors who are Jewish living in Israel. And to your point about the reason why people fail to understand, who's funding that type of argument and fueling that kind of vitriolic behavior and culture against Jewish students?
The National Organization of Students for Justice in Palestine is the primary agitator here in the United States. That is an organization that has links to Hamas. It is also one of the many nonprofit organizations that finds its way also connected to George Soros and his Open Society Foundation. There are leftist causes and international leftist networks of funding and policy advocacy that are finding ways to get resources and ideas and money onto these college campuses. Campus Reform has reported that there are now messages on the messaging app Telegram and others going around encouraging students to, go to the White House and seize Biden's residence or actually storm the White House. And the students are going along with that because they don't know that they are stooges of this international conspiracy to upend the American-Israel partnership, and also to incite a new wave of anti-Semitism to make Israelis unsafe in their homeland and to make American Jews unsafe in our homes here as well.
Zachary, I'm listening to you and I'm hearing all of this, and this is even, a lot of people will compare this to Nazi Germany leading up to World War II. But in some cases, some of the people that I've spoken to say it's even worse because no one could have ever pictured that during the October 7th attack on Israel, let me clarify that, the terrorist attack on Israel conducted by Hamas and some Palestinian citizens who were following suit, some of those terrorists actually used their cell phones to show what they were doing, and they called home to mom and dad and say, look what I'm doing, I just killed a Jew. Now, the people who are protesting against Jewish people and against Jewish students on campuses, are they aware of that reality, that actually took place? Hi, everybody. I hope you're enjoying this episode so far of America's Hope. If you'd like to see it in its entirety, just click on the link below. Thanks for watching.